Test 1, 2.
Oh, I don't think my mic is up. Oh, hello. Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. At this point, I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee on Thursday, April 13th, 2023 at 7 p.m. First off, I'd like to invite you all to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. First off, in accordance with the regional agreement, we have had an election since our last meeting. And according to our regional agreement, in order to officially, record those votes, this committee is to tabulate the election results. I'm going to ask our secretary, Amy Kumberger, to read that tabulation.
Okay, Dana Alara, is my mic on? Can you hear me? Okay. Dana Alara received 1,045 votes in Hamilton, 662 in Wenham, for a total of 1,707 votes. Francesca Avogadri, is it right? Connors received 944 votes in Hamilton, 534 in Wenham, for a total of 1,478 votes. Hamilton received 858 blank votes, had 858 blank votes. Wenham had 648 blank votes for a total of 1,506. And in Hamilton, there were 23 write-ins. In Wenham, there were 14 write-ins for a total of 37 write-ins. Congrats.
Thank you. And since there were two open seats, and given those results, the two seats are now officially filled by Francesca Connors and myself. All right. If the committee is willing, the superintendent, we're going to ask if we could move one item on the agenda up. Are you ready for that? If you're all willing, I'd like to move item 10A, which is the Massachusetts Certificate of Excellence. I'd like to move it up in the agenda. We have some busy students who have lots of other things going on, and so I'd like to move those up. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes. Can we move 10A and 10B up?
I'm not sure. We might. Let's do 10A and then see if everyone is ready for winter recognition.
Okay.
Yeah, we might not have everybody.
But no, I'm not sure they're all here yet. Mr. Tracy.
Good evening, everyone. It's been a month since we last have been together, so welcome back. I have the distinct pleasure of awarding every year the Mass Association of School Superintendents Academic Excellence Awards, and each year it's determined by reaching out to the high school, looking at the top 5% of the class, looking at 3-year cumulative averages, and then a selection is made by me. I'd like to say it was made by me, but it wasn't. It really came from the school. This was these were two easy awards to give out. So the first person is our valedictorian of the class of 23. Chloe Gurn is an incredibly thoughtful, passionate, and intellectually driven young woman. She is a global thinker who offers big picture connections in classroom discussions. Often, her clear presentation will lead her classmates to develop a deeper understanding of the material being covered. Chloe's infectious drive brings groups together and encourages those around her to achieve their best. She takes on challenges and exceeds expectations. A pivotal member of our state championship soccer and tennis teams, Chloe expresses her leadership and drive on the court and on the pitch. She is a co-founder of the Science Club and a dedicated leader of the band, Model UN, student government, mock trial, and NHS. Her involvement in each aspect of her life is deep, dedicated, and fruitful. Notably, in addition to her determination, Chloe provides compassionate support to her peers. And Chloe, from what I know, will attend Dartmouth College in the fall. So it gives me great pleasure to award the certificate to Chloe Gurn. The second award is our salutatorian, class of 23, Maya Beach. Maya Beach's passion for social justice is palpable and inspiring. Fiercely committed to helping others, spreading awareness, and making change in not just our school, but in the larger community. Maya is a powerful force for good and one that will be sorely missed when she graduates. Whether she is participating in meaningful conversations through the Asian Coalition of Massachusetts, providing a student perspective to the Hamilton-Wenham Human Rights Coalition, or serving as co-founder of our school's Social Justice Club, Maya is constantly working for positive change, particularly enjoying AP Science courses, as well as her time spent with our robotics and math teams. Maya plans to study chemistry, biology, or engineering in college, and from what I know, she has not decided yet, unless that's changed.
I'm currently deciding between Carnegie Mellon or Tufts.
Carnegie Mellon or Tufts. I'm glad you are trying to make that decision and not me, but I just want to say congratulations, Maya. Thank you for all your work. Thank you.
Thank
Can we
you.
get a picture of them before they both run?
Oh, absolutely. Am I on that? Am I on the photo? Okay. You want me to take a picture?
I can do it.
If you two would please come up, we'd love to have a photo. And while you're getting up, you want to be up there? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Okay, you can walk.
Chloe and Maya, I'd like to say congratulations, and also thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to come here to share with us. It means a lot to the committee to get to, we don't always get to see the students up close and personal. It means a lot that you took time this evening to come so that we could get a moment to recognize you. Thank you, both of you. Okay. All right. Mr. Tracy, do you have thoughts, or I'm not sure who would know, Craig knew, whether our winter athletes are here, or are we still waiting?
Good to go?
I think everyone that's
Okay.
Because I know it is later on the agenda, but I'm happy.
We can do it.
Okay. All right. As requested, as long as the rest of the committee is okay, we'll move up the rest of the winter's athletic recognitions. Okay. All right. Mr. Genualdo.
First of all, thank you for having us. It means the world to us. I know it's been a busy month. There's been a lot of exciting things happening. And so we're happy to share the success of these students. And what we always say, and what's really cool about everyone that's sitting here, is that they're here. They had some individual accomplishments. Some are here representing their teams for team accomplishments. But they're all great teammates, and they all know that without their teammates, they're not here. And without their coaches, they're not here. And without their parents, they're not here. So they're all very grateful, very inspiring young people, and we're very grateful that they're here and very thankful that we get a chance to honor them, so thank you. So we'll probably go team by team. I'd ask you to stand up. Maybe we could have one big round of applause at the end, but I'd like to share with you what these young people have accomplished this year. It's truly incredible. So everyone with the girls basketball program, if you could stand up for a minute. They qualified for the state tournament again. I think it's it's the third year in a row that we've had a tournament that they've qualified. They were the Cape Ann League sportsmanship winners, which is voted on by their peers. We have a few of those, which we're very proud of this winter. And so the two that stood up briefly and sat back down are Abby Simon and Gabby Campbell, and we're very thankful for your success. And I know Abby's going on to bigger and better things here, but good luck to you and thank you. There was a boys basketball individual award winner who's not here this evening. The the basketball leagues have a Courage Award, and this young man was injured during football season, was going to be the starting point guard and got injured, and he had gone to camps all summer, been working, he couldn't play. He was at every single practice, every single game, inspiring his teammates and rooting them on. So the Cape Ann League Courage Award went to John Ertel, and very proud of him for that. I don't know if we have any cheerleaders here. I can't see real quick, but they participated in the Shepherd Hill Invitational and were their division's champions, and their captains, I don't know if they're here.
Right in front of you.
Oh, sorry. Hi. Sorry. I'm used to Carly Cronin and Julie Sappas. Congratulations. It was wonderful to go watch you compete. It was a bit of a drive. I know it was a bit of a hike, but you guys went through the whole thing and the warm-ups and stuff, and it was really fun to watch you. So, so really good stuff. And that award for the division champs thing was really, really well deserved. I don't think anyone's here from boys ice hockey, but they also qualified for the state tournament. They would tell you the year they had wasn't totally up to what they would have loved, and they were huge underdogs in the first round, and they were like a 22 seed playing a 5 ranked team, and they took them. They tied up the game with like 30 seconds left, and they wound up losing in the final seconds, but they did a great job, and they also won the Cape Ann League Sportsmanship Award. It's hard to win that award in hockey. There's a lot that goes on during those games. Sometimes you learn some things you didn't otherwise know, but they did a great job, and they had some good success on the ice, but they were gentlemen off it, and their captains were Liam Heaney, Will Stinson, and Lucas Hunt, so we're very grateful for them. Girls hockey, we're a participant at Marblehead. They're our host. There's some cooperative agreement teams because some sports can't, we don't have enough for our own team, but we had about 8 kids this year play girls hockey, which is the most since I've been here in 11 years. And Hannah Savulis, who actually attends Landmark, I don't think Hannah's here, but Hannah Savulis is a Landmark student. Not only was she a league all-star, she also won the Boston Bruins District Sportsmanship Award, and they celebrated those athletes on Women in Sports Night in Boston. They got a whole backstage tour of the Garden. They walked in with the Bruins, and they had a really good time with that. I think our largest contingent here is probably indoor track, so if you guys could all stand up. The girls indoor track team won the Cape Ann League Sportsmanship Award. One of our many teams this winter that did. And we have a bunch of individuals that qualified for individual states. To win in team track, you really need a ton of numbers. You need like 50, 60 kids. We may not have that, but what we lack in numbers, we certainly make up for in talent. And just want to read these through. Georgia Wilson qualified in the 55 meters and long jump. Charlotte Madden in the 2-mile. The girls 400 relay team of Georgia Wilson, Ava Finn, Myra Fleming, and Isabella Fazio qualified. Clark Glidden in the mile. Jack Creelson in the 600 meters. James Regan in the 2-mile. Ben Rich in the 2-mile. And the boys 4x8 meter relay team of Clark Glidden, again, big shocker. Jack Creelson, James Regan, and Ben Rich. Those guys are pretty good. They're going to make some noise next year in cross country too. But all of these folks qualified for individual states, and that's nothing to sneeze at. So congratulations, everybody, to you. We look forward. I know there's a lot of young athletes in that group, so we look forward to the next few years. And Coach Sawyer, thank you as always for your leadership, and congratulations on the Sportsmanship Award. We had an exceptional female swimmer this year, Catherine Reed. Is Catherine here? Hey, Catherine. Hello. Catherine was our league all-star, which basically means, and I'm embarrassed, I don't know the event, but it means you won your event at the Cal Championships, right? Yeah, what event was it? I forget. 200. And it's, when you get a one-on-one meet with another school, there's not as many kids, and you go to that Cal meet, and it feels like there's people all over the place. And I don't even know how they swim in the pool. It looks like there's 1,000 of them. But in addition to winning the league, she also qualified for all states as an individual, and that's an incredible achievement. It's been a couple years since we've had that, so congratulations, very well done. Brendan Dalton, we had a couple wrestlers who were a guest at Salem High School for wrestling. Brendan Dalton was not only a league champion and a division qualifier, but he was also a state and New England qualifier. Just an incredible season. His older brother was about to go to nationals, and then COVID hit a few years ago. And Brendan is a wonderful young man, certainly humble and but he's really, really, really talented. And to qualify for New England is no small feat. Kevin Spoon also qualified for divisionals, and he's a young kid that's going to do some really great things. A couple teams that I wanted to recognize, and then we'll kind of hand it back over to you for your important business. If everyone from the gymnastics team could stand up, that's here. Coach, you can stand up too. You're important. Come on. Just because Sawyer didn't doesn't mean that you can't. Girls gymnastics has kind of evolved in very funny ways over the 11 years I've been here. When I started, there was maybe 23 kids. It went down to maybe 6 at one point, and now it's certainly on the rise. Coach Way's leadership is certainly a reason for that. They won the league the first 3 years he was here, but this year, for the first time in I don't know how long, we were trying to think, maybe 15 years at least, right? It might be around there. The team, as a team, we qualified for sectionals. Gymnastics is one of those sports that you could have a stud and they could do individual great things, and we had those. Where am I here? Hobie Greaves was our league all-star, and Georgia Greaves and Hobie were all-state qualifiers. The captains, Georgia, who's not here, and Olivia and Nora, who are, you know, they were really part of a very deep group. There's 4 events. There's the beam, there's the floor, there's the vault, and there's the, what's the other one called? The bars? Yeah, okay, so I the uneven bars. It's funny, Chris always makes fun of me. I channel my mother when I'm watching this stuff, when they're doing things. I kind of do this, and I don't want to make them flinch, so I try to stay off to the side so no one, you know, gets nervous because I'm nervous. What an incredible year, and to know that, you know, a few years ago, the thought of even winning one single match was just not going to happen even once. Incredible season. We're very proud of you, so thank you. Chris, thank you very much, my man. All right. And the final team we want to mention, if anyone from ski is here, could you stand up? So ski has, for a long time, we wanted ski at our school. There were always a pocket of individuals that wanted it, but never quite enough. And then once there were enough, we couldn't break into the league. It was like Fort Knox getting in there. And finally this year we were able to. We kind of threw it together. And the families of the skiers and the skiers themselves really took a leap of faith, because there was a lot of answers to their questions we didn't have. And it was like, it was now or never. We were either going to do it this year or we weren't. And that was it. So we had to kind of just all trust each other. And we had some incredible individual things happen. Our captains were Stuart Bernard, Emma Happel, and Will Harrington from Ipswich. We had state qualifiers in Evie Bernard and Will Harrington. We had league all-stars in Evie Bernard and Will Harrington. Like I said, Stuart was also a captain for us, as was Emma. And Evie Bernard was the league individual champion. So for the first year we ever had skiing, we had a league champion right out of the gate. It's pretty impressive. And so I want to thank you not only for your time and your talent, but I also want to thank you for not knowing what the heck was going to happen and just trusting us that we had your back, and we knew that you had our back, and we're incredibly grateful that you stuck with us and did an awesome job this year. So thank you very, very much. I should say the Salem News All-Stars, our Twitter account, shouted out today. We don't announce those here, not because it's not important, just because it's kind of based on readership, and sometimes they're not all done. So there were some Salem News All-Stars that if you go on the Twitter account, they're there. But thank you all for being here. You're incredible representatives of our school, our athletic department, and most importantly, your family and friends. So thank you very much, and thank you for having us.
Thank you, Mr. Genualdo. I think it's important to also note, Mr. Genualdo probably keeps longer hours than I do, and is driving all over the map to make sure that our student athletes are supported and someone's there. I mean, there are some days when he calls me on Saturday afternoon when he's driving home, or a Sunday morning when he's driving to something. Comes in early in the morning and is here, especially in the winter, till all hours of the night, making sure each of the athlete groups are, you know, ready to go, and coaches have what they need. So I think it's important to also recognize the work and dedication of Craig Genualdo, our athletic director. So thank you, and thank you to all of you.
Thank you all for coming. Mr. Genualdo knows I am a rule follower, so I didn't clap each time, but it was not easy for me to not clap on each person. Again, I just want to say it really, it means a lot for you to come and share this with us. It really helps this committee to get to see you and hear about your accomplishments. It means a lot for you to take the time to come here, and we appreciate it. And that was really wonderful. Thank you so much. On that note, you are all welcome to stay. However, you are definitely not required to. And we will understand if you have some other things to do. Thank you.
I'll have homework to do.
Exactly. One more time. Okay. Yeah, no, we are fascinating. Is this? It is on there, yep. Okay, so I do want to just tell you all that I am laughing right now because Anna Siedzik sent me a text ahead of the meeting which said, don't forget to say it's being recorded. Because I don't know if you all know, but every single meeting Anna pokes me because I forgot, and I tend to send it. I said I won't forget, and I did. I forgot. So this meeting is being recorded.
Should I take on that role and remind you every time?
Exactly. Someone needs to say this meeting is being recorded. Anyway, that was very amusing. Okay, next up, so we're back on item number 4, which is citizens' comments. Mr. Tracy, do we have anyone who looks like they're on Zoom?
No, there's been no one since I opened it up at 7.
Okay. Given that there doesn't appear to be anyone in the room that wants to make a comment, and there's no one available on Zoom, I think I am not going to read the whole spiel about citizens' comments, and we will just move on and close the Zoom at approximately 7:25. Okay. All right. Next up, I'm going to ask David Frankel to read a portion of our school committee protocols.
Okay.
David.
As elected members, is this working?
Yeah, it seems like you have to get
It seems sort
closer.
of quiet today,
Yeah,
but yes,
that's
it is
right.
working.
Okay. As elected members of the Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee, we, including the superintendent, accept the high honour and trust that is placed in us to ensure that the students of the district receive the best education possible. To that end, we hereby commit to the following in the conduct of our business. Number 1, members of the committee will make no independent commitments or take any independent actions that relate to the school district. When school committee members attend meetings of other committees or boards, they will speak as individuals. They may only speak for the committee when designated to represent the committee.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right, and Jen, would you be willing to read a portion of our mission statement?
The Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee will lead and inspire a district that attracts and retains high-quality educators by acknowledging and respecting their expertise and professionalism.
Thank you. Okay, next up, as you all heard already, we did tabulate the votes, and at this point, I'd like to take a moment to just recognize our new committee member, Francesca Connors. Welcome, Francesca.
Thank you. Very excited to be here.
Wonderful, and
you.
we're excited to have you, and genuinely appreciative of you being willing to do this public service with us.
Yeah, I'm excited.
It's going to be fun. Okay. All right. Next up, we have our student representative, Julia Sapis.
Hi, I'm excited to present today, and yeah, I'm Julia. I'm the junior class president, and yeah, so first up, activities for the high school. I will say I have a lot more for the high school, being that I do go there. So for student government, the senior class had a donut day. They actually had 4 donut days. And it was very successful, and it was also a really nice treat Friday morning, so they made a lot of money for that. The junior class, we had a Kids Night Out fundraiser, which was great. We had a lot of students volunteer to help out, and we got to connect with the elementary kids. And we also made about $1,300 off of that in profit, so it was very successful. Prom is also upon us for senior prom. That's May 25th at the Beauport, and then our junior prom is May 12th at the Hellenic Center, and tickets are being sold for both of those now. The Prism concert was held April 11th, and the DECA Talent Show is actually happening right now, so they're very excited for that. And then today we also had the Day of Silence to protest harassment and discrimination of LGBTQ people in schools, and that was successful today as well. We had a speaker come in. Yeah. And so for activities, DECA had our biggest event of the year. We sent 100 students to compete at the State Career Development Conference in Boston, and there were 14 International Career Development Conference qualifiers, and 16 students are heading to Orlando April 21st for leadership training and competition, and I'm very excited for that. So yeah, it was very successful. Everyone had a lot of fun, and we won in our categories a lot at that. So science team, we had our last meet of the year on April 11th, and we placed first overall for the meet and second place overall for the year. So being that this year was our first year having a science team competing, that was very successful. And for theater, the One Act performed 13 Ways to Screw Up Your College Interview on their state finals on March 31st. And there were 3 Hamilton Wenham All-Star Award winners. I know just from talking with students that they worked really hard on that, and they put a lot of hours and time into it. So they were very happy to be so successful. The Social Justice Club, high school students teamed up with the elementary students to create an infinity rainbow to recognize Neurodiversity Awareness Month, and there's a picture of that. If you're walking down the halls of the high school, you'll see it. And for sports, spring season has officially begun, which is very busy, and the girls varsity tennis won against Ipswich 5-0, so they're already starting this year off on the same trend as last year. All right, for the middle school, they had their arts night on April 12th. The jazz band and chorus performed. There was an art exhibit, and then they also had a guitar and ukulele jam. So a couple pictures are from that there. But Winthrop, the Plantmobile program visited first graders on April 6th, and they learned about the parts of a plant and osmosis and everything like that. And there will be a field trip to the Audubon Science for Scientists on April 25th. For Cutler, students had a visit from Ivy, the Very Determined Dog, which is a children's book about a French bulldog whose back legs are paralyzed. And the dog actually visited their school, which I would have definitely loved when I was younger. And then lastly, Bucher, their 5th grade class hosted a Gaga Ball fundraiser to raise money for their end of the year celebration week, which I also would have had a lot of fun with. So I think that's great. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Julia?
No, that was great.
Francesca?
Thank you very much for the update. I just want to make a comment that my 3 kids attended the event, the fundraiser event, the kids' night out, and they loved it. And the little one didn't want to come home. So great job there.
I'm really glad. We had a lot of fun with them. There were a lot of piggyback rides given.
Yes.
Excellent. All right. Thank you. That was a great report. I love the pictures. Help. Thank you very much. All right. Does anyone else have anything? Otherwise, Julia, you are absolutely welcome to stay. However, if you have homework or you have other things to do, you are also welcome to go. We'll understand.
I do have to do my humanities, so I will be going. But thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for your work. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Nice to meet you.
Okay. All right. Next on the agenda, we have the consent agenda. Does anyone have anything that they'd like to hold from the consent agenda? Not surprisingly, I do. January 5th. I'd like to hold the minutes from January 5th.
Okay. I move that the Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee approves the consent agenda as posted on tonight's meeting agenda, with the exception of the January 5th minutes.
Second.
Second by Jen. There's no discussion on the consent agenda. Does anyone, all those in favor? And it is unanimous of the 5 members present, and the motion passes. I held the minutes from January 5th. Hold on. This was a very long meeting. I held the minutes. I held the minutes because, well, this now, I'm looking at it now, it might be, it's true, but it might be sillier than it really matters. But there was, David Frankel departed the meeting before we made the motion to extend the meeting to 10:30, and it's listed as if he voted on that motion, but he did not.
Got it.
The reason I wouldn't have actually called it out, but I actually thought you were listed as having voted on the things that were after that, but you actually weren't, so it really wouldn't have mattered.
I'm just seeing what page you're on so I can.
It's a
update it.
very long meeting. I'm on page, I'm not sure. It's,
10:30, okay.
yeah, it's,
I see where you were.
the motion is just, I move that we extend the school committee meeting up to 10:30.
Yep.
And that was really a vote that passed 4-0. And this is honestly my mistake. I really was I was thinking that I didn't want David to have been recorded as voting for things afterwards that he wasn't. And I certainly would defer to you if you feel like that's not accurate. That was just from my notes.
Yeah, no, it's, I think it's perfectly accurate.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you. I move that the Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee approve the minutes from January 5th with the correction of adding committee member Frankel's departure time before the note about the 10:30 extension of the meeting.
All right, do we have a second?
And correcting the 5-0 motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Not
Oh,
quite
second by David. All right, all those in favor, or is there any other discussion? All those in favor? All right, that is unanimous of the 5 members present, and the motion passes.
Sorry about the wild motion, Bev.
Bev, did you feel like you got what yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, I realized, we already voted on the donation, but I actually had if it's okay, I just had a quick question about the weight room donation. I just wanted to make sure that was the project that's going towards is the one that Craig presented us that we voted on in the transfers.
Correct.
I just wanted to clarify. I would have been,
Brian presented it, yeah.
right, Brian presented.
Yes.
Yeah, I would have voted for it anyway. I just wanted to make sure that was like
Yeah, that's what it
all part of one and the same. Okay. It's very warm in here.
So
I opened
warm.
up another window. That doesn't seem.
They're all open.
There, yeah. Okay.
They
Um,
turned the heat off at
It's a bit of a shock.
I know.
It was nice outside though.
So,
Let me jump off there, sorry.
Yeah, and just so y'all know, we have already covered all the new business, so we're actually going to be moving on to
I go to
item 11,
breakfast.
student activities
So
presentation.
then-
Okay.
Okay, so tonight I'm here to give a very brief presentation on our student activities accounts and the activity for fiscal '23 through December 31st, 2022. So I just wanted to start off with kind of a unique thing about student activities accounts. So there's a little extra layer of complexity related to student activities. So our normal district reconciliation process, we would take our bank statements and compare them to Infinite Visions, which is our financial software that we use in the business office. So we're just comparing two things when we reconcile that data. But when you move into the student activities, there's an extra layer of complication added in. And the reason for this is because the student activity account funds are held at each individual school. They are not held in the business office, therefore there's an extra account ledger that you have to reconcile. So for this process, we actually take the bank statements, reconcile them against Infinite Visions, and then also take those bank statements and reconcile them against QuickBooks or Excel or whatever accounting ledger that each individual school is using. And then on top of that, we also take QuickBooks or that ledger and reconcile it again Infinite Visions. So usually throughout the year, there's always a timing issue, whether we record something later than what a school does, or whether the school sends out a check before it's actually booked in Infinite Visions, and it creates a reconciling item. And the reason for this is student activities are kind of past tense. So just say in the high school, for instance, they will actually write the check and disperse the funds before we're notified. We're notified after the fact. So there might be some items on their ledger that aren't on ours, and it just creates difficulty during the year when we try to reconcile all three. So there's two main objectives for tonight. The first one is approval of our subsidiary accounts that I'll go through in a minute, and second is a request from the high school to increase their checking account balance that I will also go through in a moment. So when comparing our bank statements for fiscal 23 so far, we started the year with just under $140,000, and it's dropped within the first 6 months to just under $125,000, or a reduction of just under 14. When comparing this to Infinite Visions, again, the ledger in the business office, we can break it down a little bit further into the beginning balance, what revenues we've taken in and what expenses we've dispersed. So for the first 6 months of FY23, throughout the 5 schools, we've taken in just around $57,800, and at the same time, we've dispersed nearly the same amount at $57,810. To have an overall ending balance of approximately $135,000. Moving on to the high school. So to back up for a second, there are 5 individual student activity accounts. Within each of those 5 accounts, it's made up of a checking account and a savings account. For the 3 elementary schools and the middle school, there are not subsidiary accounts. So just the high school is the one with the subsidiary accounts. So no matter what money they take in or what expenses they disperse, it's broken up into these different 38 accounts. No other school does that, and that's really just because the high school has a lot more activity and a lot more money flowing through it. So currently, for the 38 accounts, we've had a total activity recorded through their QuickBooks account of roughly $50,000 and have dispersed just about $60,000. Without a doubt, the biggest group this year and in the past few years has been DECA. Ever since they joined us, our overall student activity account has nearly doubled, and so hasn't the activity. Majority of our students are involved in DECA, and because of that, the high school has made a request that I will go through in a minute. But currently, as of December 31st, the high school has approximately $100,800 in their student activities account. So part of DESE regulations is that annually, the school committee votes to authorize the use of any subsidiary accounts. So currently for fiscal 23, the high school is asking for permission to maintain the 36 subsidiary accounts that you see here. I would just mention there is one that is labeled unclassified. This would be any interest that is taken in during the year from the bank account, as well as the cost of checks that they need to disperse the funds. These are all categorized in an unclassified account. At the end of each fiscal year, whatever funds are in that account dispersed evenly amongst the other 37 accounts. So I can stop for a moment or come back, but right now we're just looking for the authorization to maintain these 36 accounts.
Does it suffice to just refer to the list on page 8 rather than read all 36?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Yep.
I move that the Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee vote to approve the 36 accounts on page 8 in tonight's presentation for the high school subsidiary accounts for the 22-23 school year.
Second.
Second by Jen. All right, does anyone have any questions first, clarifying questions for Vinny about that? Are all of these accounts active, or some of them?
Some of them have not been active in the past 2 or 3 years since COVID came along. A lot of these things are for field trips, as you can see,
Yeah.
English department field trips. They haven't gone on a field trip in a while. Usually, if it goes beyond 2 or 3 years, those funds are dispersed amongst the other classes. But currently, the high school is requesting that we maintain those and keep them open because they feel there will be future field trips that they can utilize the funds for. I will just mention, you notice there are 5 class of somethings there, even though there are 4, that we do have a policy that within 2 years, the class treasurer will come and disperse the funds to the treasurer, so they have not done that yet, but they will soon.
Okay. Okay. All right, anybody have any other questions or discussion? Nope. Okay, looks like we're ready to vote. All those in favor? All right, and that is unanimous of the 5 members present, and the motion passes.
So just the last thing for the presentation is the high school has made a request to increase their checking account balance. So as I mentioned before, each student activity account is broken up into 2 bank accounts, their savings account and their checking account. Whenever we receive funds from students or vendors, they are always deposited into the savings account. Whenever funds are needed to be dispersed, the high school sends up a copy of their warrant packet with all their expenses, and our treasurer actually transfers the funds from the savings account to the checking account. This is to kind of reduce any liability and any access for any kind of not welcomed activity to happen that might occur at the school level. So it limits the amount of access that any school has within their checking account. However, this has not been updated for at least 15 years. And as you know, things have risen in prices drastically. Just the prom alone costs upwards of $35,000, and they only have $25,000 in their account. So every month we are kind of running multiple warrants in order to pay one invoice. A lot of times we ask vendors to break up the payment just because we can't pay them all at once because we don't have the money in the checking account. So right now they're just asking if we can increase that checking account balance from $25,000 to $50,000. Just as a point of reference, the town of Ipswich, their high school checking account balance is authorized for $75,000, so we are still less than some of our neighbors. This will allow the high school to more easily disperse funds and not have to duplicate work during the year.
I just want to say one thing. As the former principal, I remember playing the money game. As you see, the 4 things that are on here, senior week, the proms for junior and seniors, all happen at the same time as the yearbook has to be paid for, and the DECA kids go on their trip. So you're writing a check for $10,000 for something, $15,000 for another group, $20,000 for another group, and you're like, okay, we can't pay for your prom deposit because there's not enough money in the checking account. We got to wait till it gets reimbursed for, 2 weeks later at the school committee meeting. So this is an actual fair move. I kind of wish it was a little bit higher, just knowing the numbers in my head, but I think this is an appropriate way to go. Makes it a little bit easier on the high school student activities account.
And as you saw in the previous slide, the funds are there. There's about $100,000 there. It's just it sits in the 2 separate bank accounts. So this will help them kind of pay the bills at the end of the year. As Eric mentioned, if we do this as June approaches, if we find that this still isn't enough money, we might come forward next year to increase it now, but that is the request that they've made so far.
That was going to be my question as to, is it enough that, Can you go through one more time?
course.
What's the process for the, like, it sounds very cumbersome, the process for transferring the money.
Yep.
So,
How does it work?
well, just, you said, I mean, I'm not clear on what the treasurer of the different club, like, who's making the transfer?
Kevin,
Our treasurer.
our treasurer.
Our
So
treasurer.
the
Right.
principal will kind of collect the warrant for, it's about a month period. It's different at every school, and it depends on obviously how much they spend within that month, but usually occurs once a month. So they'll send up a warrant packet with all the checks they've written this month. This is after the fact, so we don't actually review them in the business office till most of the time until those checks have been dispersed. Sometimes we get them ahead of time, but most of the time it's after the fact. But nonetheless, they'll send up that packet, and Kevin will go in after the school committee signs off on the warrant and transfers the funds from the savings account back to the checking account to bring that balance back up to 25,000.
All right, no, I just, it makes sense, but it is a cumbersome process, so, yep. Okay, anybody else have any other questions? I don't think we have a motion yet. Can you make a motion?
No, I can make
Yep.
a motion. I move that the Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee vote to increase the high school's student activities checking account balance from $25,000 to $50,000.
Second.
Second by Jen. Is there any further discussion? Or any other questions? Okay, all those in favor? That is unanimous of the 5 members present, and the motion passes.
So I know Lisa and Brian thank you guys already for it.
All right, great, yeah.
Sure.
That is it, unless there's any questions. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for the presentation.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving right along to committee reports. I don't think we've we've not been in this meeting for such a long time, but capital finance has not met.
Nope.
Policy?
Nope.
Nope.
Nope. Negotiations, we did meet yesterday. We will, I think we have shared with you that the teaching assistants are in the process of forming a union, so we are going to be scheduling with the union to begin that process, to begin the negotiations. Yep.
Because it's a separate union, will it ultimately end up with its own, like, office or structure?
So, yes, although I imagine it's probably going to be similar to the office personnel, is that correct?
Correct. It's a
Yeah,
sub.
so it's a sub, so the HWEA union will participate in their negotiations the way that they do with the office personnel.
Okay.
That's a great question. And because we haven't done it yet, we don't know exactly what it's gonna look like, but yeah. Okay. Anything
Will
else?
that impact their current compensation, or is that for 24? The next,
So it's a great question, and one that we don't yet know the answer to, but
Okay.
it is a good question. You know, that we're gonna get started now, and we don't know,
It depends on how long it goes.
depends on how long it goes, and, but yeah, it's a,
have they tabled any bargaining positions yet, or is not how the choreography goes?
well, we haven't met yet with them yet, so we're gonna set, that's sort of the next step, is we're gonna set a meeting time, with them,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important to know that it goes through a process that has to be approved by the state first. So for the past, I think, 5.5, 6 months, the HWEA has been working with that group to finish that process. So they were just recently approved by the state. So then the next step would be we'd come together and begin negotiations.
Got it.
All right, and definitely a new process, definitely to me, how to, to deal with some, it's very different than it's starting from scratch rather than,
Hmm.
so, yeah, it'd be interesting.
Interesting.
Okay. It looks like we're up to the superintendent report.
Mhm.
Well, that's me.
That's you?
That's you.
The superintendent's report has a number of interesting things, a little bit different than usual, but I just wanted to announce that the policy subcommittee, this is kind of the culmination of their work. We actually have all the policies now correctly posted on the website in the right order with the right links and sublinks, and kudos to Janelle, my
Yes, thanks,
assistant,
Janelle.
for spending the last 8 weeks. She actually had to hand do each one of them so that they could be searchable on our database. So now they're fully searchable within our website. So thank you to Janelle.
Can I jump in?
Yep.
Today, when I was reviewing the minutes, I had a question about one of the policies and I searched it and it was there. I
Perfect.
used it today. So
These work.
So we still have a couple of links that we're just trying to sort out. There were some law changes along the way. They just changed location or they changed wording. So we're actually working with MASC to make sure we have them correct. The day of silence occurred today, as you know. There was a week of angst, I guess, if you will, for lack of a better word, regarding the day of silence and intrusion on school. Today it went off without a hitch. There was a larger group at the middle school who, quote, participated versus the high school. High school had about 16. I think the middle school had about 80 kids total who were either, involved in some way or another. I was at both schools today in the morning. It was great. There were some kids that were fully participating, and other kids just went about their day. And I do want to say publicly that we do realize we have made some missteps through this process. We're going to regroup after, once today's done, we're going to regroup after vacation and do a little bit of an autopsy on the whole process and how things went, because there were certainly some things that could have been done differently and would have made it we could have communicated better, and we could have really helped parents to kind of find their way through the process. Some people found themselves stuck trying to explain some of these things to kids, and they shouldn't be in that position. That should really have never happened, and so we take full responsibility. We're going to work on with the Gender Sexuality Alliance Club and our administrators and sit down and really try to figure out how to make an approach without, to support our students without creating a secondary problem, which some of the things that we initially started with that we changed along the way, we're creating problems for some people within our community, and that was never the intent. I think it's all important to note that everything's done with good intent. Teachers are working hard, kids are working hard to try to support each other, and I appreciate that about our district. So I think, we will make mistakes, and we have here, and we will continue to look at it differently, and I think it'll help us address some other issues with our DEIB work as we move forward. So I'm happy to announce that we have, through a subcommittee of the MSBA Building Committee for the Cutlass Group Project, we had a subcommittee of 6 people, who interviewed all of the onus project managers, and we had, I think, over 20 people request our packet, which basically gives them the highlight of what we're looking for. And the group interviewed a number of those individual groups who committed to say, yeah, we'd like to be interviewed for it. They have come up with a finalist who we just finished negotiating a contract with. They're called PMA Consultants, and they are not quite through the final process. We have to meet with the MSBA. PMA Consultants and us will meet on May 1st, and we believe that's in Boston. We're still waiting to find out whether it's online or in Boston, but we'll go through a process through the MSBA approval process for them as well. So once everybody kind of checks off their boxes, then we're looking forward to hopefully having PMA as our OPM for the project, which is hugely helpful because they can kind of take some of the paperwork pieces and the organizational things and start to begin to work the process for us that really takes up a full focus. So they, the reminder for people is that they do work on our behalf. They work for us through this building process. They'll work with vendors. They'll do bidding. They'll put out contracts. They'll actually deal with vendors who may fall behind or may have issues. So they have a lot of value to us in this process. So we're just about there. We still have to get an approval from MSBA, but I want to thank that committee, that subcommittee of 6 who spent far too many hours, 4 hours at a crack, doing different interviews and trying to get to the right person, so.
Can I have a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
The one that you've picked, what are some of the notable previous schools they've done?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. They've done, I think, over 30 school projects. Somerville was their most recent, but I think they've done over 30 projects from OPM, and also they're connected to a design firm as well. So.
Cool. Thank you.
And we'll put out more information once they actually get approved. We'll put information out. To be able to say, like, their packet is actually very interesting to look at. I just didn't want to put it out yet until MSBA, but I wanted people to give people an update on the process.
And you're anticipating May 1st was when
May 1st
when
is
you'll have
the
that
meeting
decided.
for MSBA.
Okay.
It's really their choice from here. They go through their processes, and we don't see any issues, but we won't know until that day. And then my hope is to have them come here and do a quick presentation, because they do a nice job with their presentation. I think it's important for the group to see.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And then one final thing. I've been working with the North Shore Superintendents Group for several months now, both in the full group, but also in a subcommittee of the group, to work on a couple of different things that are impacting our schools, specifically the 14% increase that we got from OSD this year. It's kind of the surprise that in this district was almost $350,000, I think $336,000 in the surprise increase that we weren't anticipating. The governor's budget has included $75 million towards the, it's kind of it seems to look like a pothole where they'll use it to offset some of those costs for districts. We're still waiting to see how they will disperse that money. We're hearing that they're going to link it to the process of circuit breaker and requesting money through the circuit breaker process. If that happens, we probably won't receive any of the money. It's just the way that the circuit breaker process works. You have to hit a certain threshold before you're eligible. So it's really going to be dependent on what our thresholds are, and we actually start that circuit breaker process in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks to get our numbers straight and get them submitted to the state. So we won't know for a while, but there is also I think the House budget, there's another $15 million on top of that. So we're looking right around, if you remember earlier when I presented this, right around $90 million across the state. It's just we're trying to leverage the MASS, MASC, and a couple of other groups to help our senators and representatives understand the disbursement could be problematic for smaller communities, and the bigger communities would benefit, which is what we see with Chapter 70 funding as well. Some of our local schools are losing money in Chapter 70 funding. The reason I say losing, they're getting like 0.25% increase over time, and our increase next year is anticipated to be about 3.3%, which I think equals about $124,000 in Chapter 78, and that's a pretty good increase and something we anticipated. But some of our surrounding communities, our fellow schools and superintendents that I talk with, are concerned because they're going up in such small increments. They're not really getting the benefit of Chapter 70. So we've asked our senators and representatives to work with us on looking at the Chapter 70 formula and helping to maybe put together a group to examine it more deeply and get some better insight on how the formula, which is super complex, works for different size school districts. And the school districts that benefit the most are generally the bigger schools. So if you look at Chapter 70 money that comes in from Beverly versus us, they clearly get bigger numbers because they have more kids. Rural schools get hurt. Smaller school systems get hurt by the current process. So just wanted to give an update on that. We're also working with representatives from the State House, reps and senators from the State House, on a possibility of putting together a committee to relook at the special ed laws, specifically the Chapter 71 group, because they haven't been updated in years and years, and many of them are in conflict when you start to compare Massachusetts versus the federal laws. And we're starting to see, as I presented in this year's budget, well, Vinny presented in this year's budget, I got to stand next to him, but the special ed costs are really rising. They're outpacing regular ed costs, in some cases 3 and 4 to 1. So we're trying to get people at State House to work with us on a committee made up of representatives from MASS, MASC, MSAA, all the local groups that impact schools, so that we can make some adjustments that make sense, so that everybody gets a little bit of a fair shake, a more fair shake of how the laws either work for or against you financially. So those are the things that we're active in right now. We've been doing a lot of work in that area, and we'll continue to do it. But I look forward to hopefully getting some of that 14% back. That would be nice, and it would benefit us again down the road. We won't see it till FY25, but I think it's important to at least start to work towards some of those solutions. And the governor has been very good at keeping that in the budget. And the other thing I think will stay in the budget as well is the free lunch program. It seems to be sticking. Several of our reps have come out and announced that it seems to be staying in, so that will be really good to have as well. The free lunch program is hugely beneficial to kids, all kids everywhere, so that you're not worrying about kids not eating or anything like that. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that makes it all the way through as well. But other than that, that is my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I have a
Questions?
question. I just wondered, is there an update on the after-school program?
Still not. We met. I've met with the Y program director, and I've also had a conversation with the community house director, who is concerned about this move. She's concerned about losing revenues and participants, which is a valid source. So we're still working with the Y to try to look at those angles. About we don't want to infringe on the community house, what they've built already. They actually have a really big program, much bigger than I actually thought. And even the Y doesn't want to do that either. So we're trying to figure out where are the kids who aren't there, and how can we help them without disrupting the community house program. So the conversations will probably go on through the rest of the year. We're trying to be friendly, but also pick up some of those kids that are straggling out there without having an opportunity for an after-school program.
Gotcha.
So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions? Thank you for that. Okay. All right, next up, I'm going to turn the gavel over to the superintendent. This is the only time of the year that the superintendent gets the gavel, and maybe that's why. So at this point, what we're going to do as a committee is we're going to reorganize the committee. And so I'm going to turn the gavel over. The superintendent will take over and run the voting to elect a chair.
Great. Thank you very much. I'll put that down just in case. Thank you, Dana. And in this process, I'm taking over for the first appointment, really looking to take nominations from members of the committee for the position of chair of the school committee for the next year. I will take nominations.
I would like to nominate Dana for chair.
Second.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have a,
I will
we have a
ex-
nomination.
I will accept that.
In a
Oh,
second.
sorry.
I
I'll
was just going
accept
to say,
that.
are you willing to accept
Yes.
that, Dana? Okay. We need to vote on that. We need discussion. Do we have other nominations? Sorry. Other nominations?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so now we need to vote, unless there's discussion.
No discussion.
Okay, so we'll take a vote. All in favor? Say aye. Unanimous? Okay, there you go. Back to you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all. Thank you, Eric.
Congratulations.
All right, thank you. All right, we're going to do it again. Okay. All right. At this point, I will take nominations for the position of vice chair.
I nominate Amy for the position of vice chair.
I accept.
Oh, you
the
need
no-
a second.
Oh,
first.
sorry.
Anybody have a second?
Second.
Second by Francesca, in I think what was her first official act there. Amy, would you accept that?
I accept. Thank you, Jen.
All right. Are there other nominations for vice chair? Okay. Is there any discussion? All right. It looks like we're ready for a vote. All those in favor?
Do I vote or myself?
You can vote. Yeah, sure. All right, and that is unanimous. Congratulations, Amy.
Thank you.
All right, now it's your entire responsibility to remind me to say that the meeting
I'm
is
on
being
it.
recorded.
I made myself a note.
I'm gonna get a text before every meeting.
It didn't do me much good this
Set a
time.
timer.
The next one before we do the secretary and warrant signer, I just want to, we've typically, as a committee, asked new members to take on one of these roles. It's certainly not required, but it has been our tradition. So Francesca, I'm going to just put you on the spot a little bit and say, I don't know if you've had an opportunity to think about either one of those positions, or if you're willing or interested in either one, or if you're flexible about that.
I'm flexible about it. I would say maybe secretary could be, and they both seem very interesting and
And
very
we are
great
currently
learning
in need of a
opportunities.
secretary because
Retired.
Yeah, new appointment.
I will just reach out to, I don't know, I don't know whether you have input on the warrant signing. I know you're
Yeah,
currently doing that.
I certainly don't mind continuing to do the warrants.
Okay. So it may be as easy as that conversation. Jen, do you have any thoughts on either one of those things?
Put me in where you need me.
Excellent. All right, I think then I will take a nomination for the secretary position, if anyone has one.
I nominate Francesca for secretary.
I second that.
All right, second by David. All those in favor? All right, and is unanimous. Congratulations, Francesca. Amy will give you
Yes,
some
we will.
guidance. And actually, Jen, you've been the secretary too, and
Yeah.
so have I. So, it's, yeah.
Lots of resources.
All right, and now I need a nomination for the warrant signer.
I nominate David for warrant signer.
Second.
Second by Francesca. All those, and I guess we should specify that's David Frankel. Yeah. Correct. All right, all those in favor? All right, and that is unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you for your
Throw
work.
David Polito under the
Yeah.
bus while he's not here.
Exactly. I actually would like to say, I know that we voted on it last year, I'd like to do it again. The warrant signing is it's really important that we have someone always. And so I believe we voted on it in the past to allow, in the instance where David's unable to do it, that we could have a designated person to be the backup and also take a vote to allow that any of us could sign the warrants.
Right.
If,
Yeah, Julia had to, when I was out of town.
yes, so Julia was your backup. We
Yep.
could nominate her, even though she's not.
She can't
she
defend
can't
herself.
defend
Great.
I
I
can be
nominate
backup.
Julia.
But you want
I
to be
don't
the
mind.
back, all right, all right. I hear Jen saying she'd willing to be a backup. All right, so I don't know that we can vote on that. Well, let's vote, why not?
Sure.
Can we have a motion on that? Francesca?
Want me to make a motion?
Mm-hmm.
I motion for Jen to be the backup warrant signer.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Amy. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Excellent, and that is unanimous. And then I actually think it's important to have a vote
Now I'm experienced.
clarifying that
Yeah.
any member may sign the warrants.
Right.
We are, so I don't know exactly how we want to frame that. I also want to throw Francesca under the bus there. Go ahead, Jen.
I move that any member of the school committee be given the authority to sign warrants.
Second.
Second by Amy. All those in favor? All right, and that is unanimous, and the motion passes. Thank you.
Do we want a vice secretary in case someone's not here? We did that.
We did do that
Yeah.
before. You're correct. Huh?
Who's the vice?
It's Julia.
Julia.
Keep doing that.
She could keep doing that.
What else can we give to Julia?
We haven't given anything to Julia, but we certainly could do that. She's been, yes. All
Why
right,
don't we ask her at the next meeting if
Yeah.
she's willing to do it?
we can do that.
And
Yeah.
we'll just postpone that part?
Yep, we can do that.
Yep.
Fair enough, although I suspect she's going to be okay.
Yeah, I do too, but.
All right. So we will do that next time. Okay. I love that the lights turn off.
Someone needs to go dance over there.
It's motion sensitive. You're not waving your arms around enough. Okay, topics for future meetings?
Is the leadership team at some point in time planning a presentation on the progress of the reading program?
CKLA, the literacy, yes.
Okay.
But they're just doing the final round of DIBEL assessments right now, so it probably won't be, I'm anticipating the second week in May, I mean, the second meeting in May. That's what I would guess.
That works for me.
We're also working on the district goals for next year as well, which I'll talk more about next meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? I have one.
Okay.
So I just want to warn you all, I feel like a broken record, but I just want to say I'm going to put on an agenda the regional agreement one more time, that I'm going to move forward to the committee to say that we want to take the action steps to move forward to begin the process, bringing it forward to DESE, and so just be ready. Okay, anything else? Okay, all right, I'm going to read our executive session. So I move that we adjourn into executive session for two purposes. For purpose number one, to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health rather than professional competence of an individual, or to discuss the discipline or dismissal of, or complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual. And also, for purpose number three, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares, and not to return to open session.
Second.
Second by Jen. We need a roll call vote to adjourn into executive session. David?
Yes, here.
Dana's a yes. Amy?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Francesca?
Yes.
All right, and the motion passes, and we are adjourned into executive session.